Yo, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. Alright, so for today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the little annoying things that Pokemon Go players have to deal with. And I think this is going to be very interesting because it doesn't matter if you just started playing Pokemon Go or you're someone who's been playing since day one. At one point or another, you're going to come across one of these circumstances. And depending on how prepared you are for them, you're going to be able to pull through or you're going to be thrown for a loop because Niantic has included a lot of little things that are incredibly frustrating for the average player. And I wanted to talk about them here. But real quick, if you end up enjoying this video and found it to be insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe if it's your first time here so that you can get more Pokemon Go videos just like this one. Alright, with all that said, let's talk about the most annoying things that happen to every single Pokemon Go player. Now, the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is something that I think every single Pokemon Go player has experienced at one point or another, and that is, of course, extremely frustrating catch animations for any Pokemon. I'm talking about Pokemon who can fly, they move up and down, and then there's water-type Pokemon that typically move side to side. These are incredibly annoying animations and they delay your chances at catching a Pokemon. When it comes to legendaries, for example, a lot of players have to deal with some really low catch rates, and then on top of that, some of those legendaries will have different moving animations, making it even more difficult for you to catch those Pokemon. No matter how proficient you are at ball throwing, you're still going to have a difficult time trying to catch Pokemon that move side to side or up and down. And it's very common among some of the best Pokemon. Notably, there's Pokemon like Kyogre, Lugia, and Ho-Oh. All of those are highly valuable, especially for the Master League, and yet these are the Pokemon that have some of the hardest methods of catching, mainly because of how they move around. Essentially, what you have to do is wait for them to move back to the center of the screen, and then you have to time your ball throws that way. Otherwise, you're gonna end up getting a lot of missed throws and potentially that Pokemon running away. This leads me to the second most annoying thing that happens to pretty much every Pokemon Go player, and that is a Pokemon running away no matter how good you throw. Let me tell you a personal story, probably one of the most frustrating moments in my entire Pokemon Go career. Way back when Rayquaza was first released into Pokemon Go, I was desperate to get myself a 100% IV of that Pokemon. The reason for that is because Rayquaza has always been one of my top 3 favorite legendaries in the entire Pokemon franchise. So naturally, I wanted to get the best of the best version of it. And well, I did end up coming across a 100% IV Rayquaza. I was ecstatic and I was really hoping I would be able to catch it. Unfortunately, even though I hit pretty much every single excellent curveball throw, I still ran out of Premier Balls and the Pokemon ran away. It was probably the one and only time I ever lost a Hundo Legendary, and it was incredibly heartbreaking. And in fact, it took almost 5 years until I finally got that Hundo Rayquaza. So yeah, that is an incredibly annoying and frustrating thing to happen to pretty much any Pokemon Go player, losing out on a Hundo Legendary simply because of just bad RNG. There is absolutely zero bad luck protection in Pokemon Go, so no matter how much you do excellent curveball throws, there is still a chance that the Pokemon will run away. It's incredibly frustrating, and pretty much every single Pokemon Go player that has been playing since day one has experienced this very thing. And it's something that you really can't do anything about because this is just how Niantic designed the game. It's just an entire game of probabilities. And occasionally when you come across those statistical anomalies, it may work completely against you and cause a very heartbreaking situation. Now, the next most annoying situation that happens to most Pokemon Go players is running out of a certain item at the time that you actually need them. I'm talking about running out of revives when you need to revive all of your Pokemon for a raid or PvP, or let's say it's running out of Pokeballs when you come across a super rare shiny. A lot of these circumstances can be prevented as long as you're continuously spinning Pokestops, but if you lack Pokestops nearby, then it's going to be really difficult for you to keep up a good stock of different items. And then, more often than not, the time that you actually need those specific items is when you're going to run out. Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, and this tends to happen the most among newer players, but I really do think that if you're constantly keeping up with your Pokestop spins and opening gifts every single day, then you could prevent this situation from ever happening. You should also invest into getting your item storage as well as your Pokemon storage up as much as possible. But speaking of Pokemon storage, that is the next thing that is incredibly annoying and something that is also preventable, and that is running out of Pokemon storage right when you're in the middle of a very key event. Imagine yourself at Pokemon Go Fest, one of the live events, and you're trying to catch as many Pokemon as you possibly can. There's a bunch of rare spawns, there's a bunch of shinies that are very uncommon, and then you run out of Pokemon storage space, and you have to sit there and lose out on farming time clearing out your storage. Yeah, if you're someone like me who has been playing since day one, you have a whole bunch of Pokemon that you want to hold on to within your collection, and you have a very hard time removing them from your collection and transferring them or trading them out. And because of that, you end up running out of Pokemon storage constantly. There are some players who do have this as an art form. They are always having Pokemon storage available, and they're only keeping very specific Pokemon. But that just simply is not me and a majority of other players. If I get a shiny in the wild, I'm gonna keep it for some reason, even if it's not good. And because of that, I always end up running out of storage. And this is a very frustrating thing to happen for pretty much any Pokemon Go player, and Niantic has done very little to help us out. I think there's a lot of things that they could do aside from just giving us more storage for us to buy. They could add a Pokemon Bank feature. I think that would be really cool. But in general, yeah, this is just one of the things that players have to watch out for. Now, the next thing that is incredibly annoying to happen to any Pokemon Go player is going to a raid and thinking you have enough players and you still are not able to take down that boss. I've had this situation happen many times throughout my Pokemon Go career. It's me and maybe 2 other people. We look on Pokemon Go Hub or Poke Battler and we see that, yes, it is possible to take down the boss with just 3 trainers. And then we go into the raid and then we use our raid passes. And then it turns out we are short at least 1 trainer. And that is incredibly frustrating because the time it takes for you to find another trainer or hoping that someone will join remotely can lead to a lot of frustrating moments, especially if you cannot find that one extra person. But because Niantic did introduce remote raiding, this situation has not necessarily happened that often. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's one of the benefits of having remote raids in Pokemon Go, and probably one of the reasons why Niantic should consider unnerfing it. Because with remote raids, this very frustrating situation does not happen as often as it used to, and I think that's a really good thing. And then here's an annoying situation that is really more on user error, like if you're not paying attention and you're just powering up Pokemon or transferring Pokemon, but ruining PVP Pokemon in your collection by powering it up one too many times or accidentally transferring them. The reason why I bring this up is because at many points in my life, I have collected rank 1 IVs Pokemon. Rank 1 IVs are actually extremely valuable when it comes to the Go Battle League because they give you the highest stats output for the combat points limit of each individual league. And sometimes you might end up having yourself a rank 1 IV Pokemon, but you accidentally transfer it because you might be doing a search string for 4 stars and 3 stars only, and of course, most PvP IV Pokemon do not have rank 3 or rank 4 IVs. They usually have rank 1 or rank 2. And because of that, you might accidentally mass transfer one of your rank 1 IVs. That is something that is a big user error, and it's something that I personally have done once in my life. I really regretted it because it was a Pokemon that I actually used quite a lot in the Go Battle League. But fortunately, I was able to get another Pokemon with comparable IVs to a rank 1, and I've been using that Pokemon ever since. But that is something that you need to watch out for. Do not ever power up, or always make sure you're favoriting all of your rank 1 IV Great League Pokemon and Ultra League Pokemon, and also give them different nicknames to indicate that those are rank 1 IV Pokemon. That way, you do not accidentally transfer them and you do not accidentally power them up. Alright, and this leads me to the final most annoying thing that I wanted to talk about in this video. And that is, of course, Niantic themselves. There are so many times where Niantic does something really good for Pokemon Go, like something that a lot of players find to be really useful. It's a big quality of life change. A lot of players are thinking of it as something very positive for Pokemon Go. And then out of nowhere, Niantic decides to remove it or change it up completely. This happened most recently, of course, with remote raids. A lot of people loved remote raiding. It was such a positive thing for Pokemon Go as a whole. Like for rural players, they were finally able to go out and do a bunch of raids. For people who always need help when it comes to raid battles, like I mentioned earlier, they are now able to get that help remotely. And then of course, for people who have disabilities or they do not have any means of travel, they can still participate in a whole bunch of raids thanks to this new item. But of course, Niantic decided to completely nerf it to the ground. They doubled the price of remote raid passes, and then they also made it so that you could only do 5 per day. And a lot of players were really unhappy about that, but Niantic for some reason decided to double down and stick with that for the past couple of years. And this is just one example of Niantic taking away something that players actually really like in Pokemon Go. And that is incredibly annoying, and that is incredibly frustrating. And I feel like for anyone who has been playing since day one, they pretty much got used to it at this point. It's happened so many times, and I really feel like that's just a part of how Niantic develops Pokemon Go. They give us something that's really good, and then they find that it is imbalanced in some way, or maybe they just do not like the results of it, and then they either take it away or tune it down, and that creates so many frustrating moments for the Pokemon Go community. But yeah, anyway, this was my list of some of the most annoying things that happen to Pokemon Go players, and I really do think that for everyone who has been playing since day one, or even some newer players, they've all experienced this in one way or another. Now, if there is another thing that is incredibly annoying during your daily Pokemon Go play that I did not mention, I would like to know what that is. Make sure you share what that is in the comments down below, and then, yeah, let's discuss it. Let's have a great discussion regarding all of the annoying things about Pokemon Go. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to every single patron on my Patreon. You all make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the best way you could do so is by becoming a Patreon member. And if you choose to do that, you'll get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon Go friends list. So when it comes to all the different ways you can interact with other players, like with remote raids or the friendship system, if you want to do that with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. Also, I will be doing some adjustments to the tiers and giving some additional bonuses, so be on the lookout for that. And if you want to support my channel in a different way, you can do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.